So let's talk about the artist statement, right? It's so hard to talk about yourself and talk about the work that you do. Your work is very intimate, it's very personal. And so it's important that we communicate what we're doing clearly, but in an interesting way. Short and sweet. That's the point, right? So let's talk about the 3 sentence statement: who you are, what you do, and why you do it. We will do one word brainstorming, and then we'll put it into a sentence, and then we'll connect it all into a paragraph. And so it's kind of like a step by step how to talk about what you're doing. So get a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or whatever, and you'll want to make 5 columns on your paper, like this. This might be backwards, sorry. There's some of my lunch. And so we'll want to label our columns into facts. So what does it look like? What's the sizes that you work in? What are the colors, shapes, textures? What medium are you working with? Things like that. Just really factual things referring to your body of work or to your work. And then you'll label the next column inspirations. So is there an artist that inspired you or that you base your work after? Or like really, where does the work come from inside of you? Were you inspired by family, or do you have family members who are artists? And so the next column will be listing words describing your artwork, but using your 5 senses. And so this is where you can get really creative and just kind of think outside the box or outside the column, and just use your creativity to get that list going. Next we have space. So, you can talk about your time creating in the Momentum Studio, your space at home. What's your process of development? Like how do the different elements interact with you? And then lastly, you can make a list on your beliefs. And so you can take this any way you want. Just, again, it's kind of like the things that inspire you from that column. Maybe your ideal space to exhibit or present your work, or something similar to that. And so you'll want 1 or maybe 2 words, and just make a list. I think this is probably a good time to let you know I am not a professional artist. I'm a social worker, and I love art. And so just that little caveat. But I do have a small little body of work that I did recently. And so that's what I'm going to use for this example. And so I'll show you a little bit of what I've done. I can't. Oh, there we go. This is the Garden of the Gods when I went to Colorado to visit. And you can see these big red rocks with the mountains in the background with the clouds, and then of course some brush and bushes and things. And then this is a trail that I went on at the Mueller, or is it Muller? One of the two, State Park. And I do want to note that this part actually was all covered in snow, and I sat in this little clearing in between these 2 trees with with this snow-covered pond that really wasn't all that pretty. And I said, I wonder what this would look like, if the weather was better. So I kind of took a picture of it with my mind and said, you know what, I'm gonna go home and I'm going to paint this how I think it would look in the summer or in the late spring. And so that's what came out of that. And then this one's just kind of that one was an unfinished piece, and that was out my window of my cabin. And so I was just kind of experimenting. The background is actually a really old practice watercolor piece that I had done sometime in the studio, and I cut it up and I was like, oh, I can use this as a background. So waste not, want not, right? And so I'm going to use that. So we'll talk about that. And I filled out my list. So the facts about my work is they're all watercolor. Of course, I did have some charcoal pencil in one, the one that I experimented with, right? They're all very small little bodies of work. And they're all based on landscape. Like I said, I'm not a professional artist. I do doodle a lot, and mostly what I'm doing is things that I can see, flowers, landscape. Those are the things that I love to surround myself with. And they bring me peace. I just love being out in nature, and so that's what I paint, and that's what inspires me. And so, you use something like that's personal to you as you're going through these lists, right? So, basically I already said, what inspires you? Nature, being out in nature, poetry, creative writing is kind of my background, if anything, art related. And so I love poetry, I love writing it, I love reading it. I love books, and I read a lot of books about nature, of course. And Pinterest. Who doesn't get inspired by Pinterest? I have a million boards on there. So I definitely use it as a way to kind of unlock the potential of a project that I'm working on. Using my five senses when I'm looking at these little pieces of artwork that I worked on, I was thinking of how I felt when I was there, so the air was just very crisp, very sharp and fresh. It smelled like pine trees, like Christmas almost. It was warm. It wasn't overly warm by any means, but it wasn't cold either. I wasn't bundled up or anything. And it was like the sun kind of beaming down. And I definitely, the one that I was showing you with the hidden pond on the trail, I was sunning myself on a rock thinking about how wonderful it would be in the summertime, even though it wasn't exactly, a picturesque view at that point in time. Spring, of course, and exercise, because all of the places that I painted, other than the one where I was sitting and looking out the window, are places that I had to hike to. And so exercise and exploring are really big aspects of what I like to paint and draw. And orange, so the big orange rocks of the Garden of the Gods, they were, I just remember them being so striking against the baby blue sky. It was just an amazing contrast of the colors. And so those are the types of words that you're wanting to use in there. So I like to be comfortable when I'm creating. I like it easy. I like to take my time. And most of all, I like to have fun, and I hope you do too. My beliefs. This was difficult. So let me know your thoughts on this. Was that difficult for you too? So I just was thinking, what is art to me? What do I believe about my own art? And with the one piece, I was experimenting. So art is an experiment, really. I mean, sometimes you're just like, I wonder what would happen with this, and it just, you get what you get, and it's either a happy accident or you're like, okay, let's try something different next time. And I also believe that art is connection. So even times like this, when we're all kind of stuck at home, art is still keeping us connected. We're still able to communicate through our art, and that is just so beautiful. And I'm hoping that with these videos, these live Facebook live videos and the video that I'm doing for you today, I'm hoping that we can really keep that connection and really make sure that art is a tool that we're using to communicate things that we maybe don't have words for. So maybe we can just share what we're doing while we're at home and use that as a platform. And look, I've said it a million times that I'm not a professional artist. I don't necessarily even think that I'm good at art. But you know what? You don't have to be good at art, right? In order to get the benefits from doing art, because those are things that just doodling and just doing what you can and doing the best with what you have laying around. And that is the magic that is art. Okay, back to artist statement, right? Okay, so let's take a couple of our words and create a sentence using them. So go ahead and play around with it. Make a sentence out of one, using one word, and do that a couple times, and then try to put it all together, and you can create your paragraph and make it a paragraph and make everything kind of connect. If you need help with this, feel free to message me, or you can email me. I would love to proofread, and I would love to see what you're working on. And that's it for today, guys. This is my littlest. Let me know what kinds of art videos that you want to see in the future. I want to be able to do a Facebook Live art project soon. And so hopefully we can work it out and get something done on Friday. I do have an art studio set up in my basement, and so I'll be able to work there without being interrupted. Thanks, have fun, be safe, and we miss you. Bye.